Hello, and welcome to Engage, the program at Mississippi State University that covers community-engaged research, learning, and service. Today, I am joined by Dr. Jean Mohammadi-Aragh from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. I, of course, am Michelle Garraway from the Center for Community-Engaged Learning. Welcome, Jean.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Doing well this morning. Well, before we really get into why I wanted to invite you to talk about one of your community engaged projects, could you just share with our viewers a little bit about how you came here to MSU and what your role is here at our university?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came to do my undergraduate in computer engineering, and I stuck around and finished my master's. And then in computer engineering, what I was doing was using virtual reality to help scientists learn about their data. And I worked in an off-campus research lab for a while, and I really liked it. And I think that that experience of teaching experts about their data, helping them find new insights, helping them learn. The whole time when I was growing up, I always thought that learning was really fun. It kind of inspired me to pursue expertise in how people learn and learn about the science of learning so that I could engineer learning experiences. And after I went to Virginia Tech and learned about that and have a PhD in engineering education, and I applied to come back to Mississippi State, my university that is just close to my heart, and help in the electrical and computer engineering department, help students really get excited about learning to be engineers and help them see how learning could be so much fun.
Well, that is great, and we're very lucky to have you here at MSU. So I wanted to get to a project that you head up that won one of our MSU Excellence in Community Engagement Awards last year in 2020. It's called the ECE, which I think stands for the Electrical and Computer Engineering Toy Adaptation Program. Can you talk about what that is and what it does and how it gets involved with the community?
Yep. So it is just a project I'm really excited about because it helps our students learn, but it also helps children learn. And so when we think about young children, they're playing with toys a lot of times, and these toys are battery toys that have different switches that activate them. And you're turning on lights, turning on sounds, things like that. And when children play with these toys, they're learning things like they press a button and something happens that teaches them cause and effect, things like that. And so there's some children who have special needs that are not able to play with toys the way they're intended. Maybe they're not able to squeeze that paw on the toy, or maybe it's a really small button that they can't find or press. And so as our electrical engineering students are just learning basic circuits, how to solder, basic things like that, they are able to open up a toy, find the circuitry, and find a way to add an additional switch to the toy. And we add a wire to the toy that has a 3.5 millimeter audio jack that then a therapist can select a button that can be plugged into that jack that is appropriate for the child. So maybe it's a child that needs a big flat button that they can press easy, or maybe it's something where they need to be able to blow into it to activate the toy. And so we don't worry about what type of switch. We let the therapist decide that because we put in this universal jack. And so we're allowing the ECE students to practice what they've learned about circuits, practice what they've learned about soldering, see a real world impact. And then we donate these toys to children and their families and different therapists to use for speech therapy. So the children are also able to learn. And that's just, I don't know, it's a really fun project to be involved in.
I would think so. So I'm really more interested as well to hear what kinds of things you've seen your students benefiting from that project, and if you're able to, your partner, who you're partnering with, what they've shared about what the project has meant to them.
Oh yeah. So for my students specifically, I think as their students are first getting into electrical and computer engineering, I think sometimes they struggle with understanding how we make a difference. And I mean, it's a little secret, but ECEs do everything. So your phone has electronics in it, heart monitors have electronics. We have people with ECE backgrounds have made pumps that can be inserted into someone's body to measure insulin, all kinds of big impact. We keep the power on in your houses, things like that. But I think sometimes students are really struggling. They want to make a difference. They want to, help their community. And other than maybe keeping the power on, they're struggling a little bit. They'll think of like sensors and health things as more of a, maybe biological engineering contribution. And so we use this project to show them that, even just that first semester that you're here on campus, you've just learned, really 3/4 of a semester's worth of ECE knowledge. And then we can give you this project that you immediately recognize things. You can open up the toy, find the circuitry, recognize the resistors, recognize the schematic. You can solder that you just learned how to do a few weeks ago and make connections. And then this toy can be repackaged and given to a child to learn. And so for my students, I think it's kind of that feeling of really making a difference and hearing from parents and hearing from the therapists that have used the toy with the children. Those stories really motivate the students to continue in electrical and computer engineering and maybe make bigger differences in the future. And then I think with our partners, so we partner primarily with the TK Martin Center here on campus. And what we do is, we adapt the toys and then we give them to the center and then they donate them for us. And because they have connections with the community that, they know where the toys need to go. So I know that there's a day center for, not a preschool, it's really for all ages, but a day center in Columbus, and the toys have been donated there. The toys vary, they could be like that teddy bear I showed briefly, or it could just be like a fan or a light, but it's something that, is giving the person control, because it has a switch, and now they have control over that switch. And our therapists have also used them at the TK Martin Center when they're learning about, when students are learning, different speech patterns. So instead of using flashcards, they can talk about a train that's moving and can, really work on their speech with something that's more interactive than just, flashcards or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you've already talked about, and thank you for that response, that you've already talked about so much about the benefit for your students and for the community, and really that partnership that you were talking about there. I'm curious, as the project goes forward, what other impactful things, what are you thinking about for the future of this project? Are you hoping for other partnerships? Are you hoping for more students to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking for more students to get involved, and we're kind of shifting to some maybe bigger projects. So we're still doing the toy adaptation, and we have done that as an outreach event in addition to doing it within the class that I teach. And so we need students to volunteer to help us. And one event we did was with middle school girls. We brought them in on a Saturday. We taught them to solder in 2 hours, and then we gave them toys to adapt. And there were some failures there because the students just didn't have that much experience soldering. So our volunteers helped with a day, but then they also will, we kind of have a toy lab where we'll take our toys. We normally do multiple versions of the same toy. So if something doesn't work, maybe there's 2 toys that don't work, but we can kind of Frankenstein it together and get one working toy. So we'll have students help with that process. As far as growing the project, there's kind of 2 paths that we're looking at now. One is really how switches, I guess it starts with a toy, but what you're teaching is really the ability to use a switch. And so once a child has learned to use a switch to turn on and interact with a toy, you can give them other switches, and maybe they can control the lights in their room. Maybe they can control special equipment that is with them to help, maybe cool them off or something like that. And so the therapists are looking at how do you move, we use a toy to teach you to use a switch, and now how do we move beyond, and how can a simple switch make your life a lot better? And then the other path is through more complex toys. So we have this, it's like a radio controlled car. So this is more than a switch, because the switches are more like an on-off, really simple circuit, but being able to control a remote control car. So maybe how can we adapt multiple switches into that? Besides the car that's just driving around, what about, those cars that kids drive around? is there a way that we can allow them to drive, but also allow the caregiver to have like an on-off kill switch? It's like, oh, you're about to pull out of the space that's safe, so let's stop the car and keep you from going. So we're looking at maybe some more advanced circuitry and how our students can help with that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, gosh, all of this stuff that you're sharing about what you're hoping for in the future makes me wonder if, how to get involved is really, if there are people that are, viewing this and they want to get involved, or they're like, oh, that would be great for the clinic that we work with. What are the ways to really learn how to reach out to you and your team, your students?
Okay, so if you go on the electrical and computer engineering website, you can see a faculty listing, and I'm there. And so they can email me or they can call me in my office. And the people that I would love to reach out to me are people that are excited, like, hey, I could use toys in my lab or my clinic. And if they reach out to me, they can also reach out to the TK Martin Center to get toys and kind of get on the list of where we donate to. We're always looking for parents who might have ideas of the different types of toys we could adapt. A lot of times we'll go online and shop, Amazon or Walmart, or go to the local store and pick out toys that we're like, well, this might be interesting. But if parents had input into that, we also partner with a group at Ohio State University, and they have a toy lending library. So we don't have that, but if somebody was interested in establishing that, we would partner with them to donate toys that could then be lended out to children, where children can kind of switch out once they've maybe used a toy and they're ready for something new, was the idea there. And then if it's a student that maybe you're in high school and you're like, this sounds really cool, well, I would love for you to major in electrical and computer engineering and kind of join in with a group of students that I direct and be a part of, whether you're volunteering, or whether you're adapting toys, or whether you're helping us fix toys so that we can donate the maximum number possible. I think there's a lot of ways for people to be involved.
And I thank you for giving all of those ways, and really not only listing that site, but I wanted to encourage others that you can always go to ccel.msstate.edu and read more about the project, and then follow that path in order to get to the ECE website. Our office also has ccel@msstate.edu that you can email, and I'd be glad to connect you to Dr. Jean and her students. But we thank you all for joining us. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Thank you, Jean, for joining us and telling us about the ECE Toy Adaptation Project. And we hope that we can have more people involved in the very near future.
Thank you so much.